Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from the Black Business School and the Black Wealth Boot Camp. I was reading this article today on financialjuneteenth.com, and it was a discussion about professional athletes and why they go broke. And it's not a story that you're not familiar with. I'm sure it's something that you have heard. Most of us have seen series like the show Broke on ESPN, 30 for 30. And basically, it says 80% of NFL players are broke within 5 years, and 60% of NBA athletes are broke within 5 years. One of the poster children for this problem was Antoine Walker, a former NBA player who I actually went to school with. I went to school with Antoine. We didn't know each other. I knew people who knew him, and one of the concerns I had back then was that I really didn't feel like the university cared much about educating Antoine as much as they cared about putting him on the basketball court. Because even at the age of 24, 25, I could have easily sat down with him and explained some things to him that probably would have made his life better. But back then, I remember that there was a consistent effort by the system to keep black athletes away from black students. You know, at that time, I was pretty much out there. I was writing in the campus paper. Everybody read my articles. And I remember one of the athletes came to me in confidence and said, he was on the basketball team. He said, our coaches don't want us reading your articles because you tell us things like, you know, the athletes should get paid. And remember, I was getting my PhD in finance, so I was able to break down the numbers and explain, you know, why the university was actually getting rich off these kids, and they weren't getting anything for it. Most of the guys didn't get a chance to go to the NBA like Antoine did. Most of those guys, even at the University of Kentucky, you know, ended up in other situations. I'll say that some of them are actually in jail. Anyway, I thought about this athlete issue for a long time because, you know, number one, as a finance guy, I know how the money works. Number two, as an educator, I've seen the educational violations that occur within the NCAA where they put money ahead of the athlete's success. And then number three, I'm a black man. I see what this system does to the black community, and I see the massive wealth extraction that occurs because our best and brightest athletes, you know, those who are going to make the most money, those who have the most talent are being sucked away, and they make money for white people, basically. That's it. And so when I look at this and I read this article and I see, you know, this stat, and I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? And I see Antoine Walker's now working for Morgan Stanley, and he is an ambassador to talk to athletes about managing their money. I love the initiative. I think it's a great thing because athletes need this information. But then at the same time, I'm looking at the fact that you have this blackface backed by a predominantly white organization pushing forward on an initiative that is going to extract more wealth from the black community. Understand this. Morgan Stanley, I don't know how many black people Morgan Stanley hires as financial advisors, but I bet you that their diversity numbers are probably as bad as every other firm on Wall Street. So what effectively they're doing, and this is the problem, this is the imperialization of the mind of the black athlete, where black men who play sports are sucked away and brainwashed into supporting other communities and not caring about black people. But what I really see here is yet another wealth extraction where they're saying, these Negroes have a whole lot of money and we need to get our cut. So we're going to make this, you know, into a conscientious social issue when really at the end of the seminar, you're going to sign up with Morgan Stanley and get your financial advice through Morgan Stanley. So on one hand, it is a good thing in the sense that the athletes are less likely to go broke because they have financial advisors, but the people who are going to get rich are typically white and Jewish people and not black people. And that really, and it's not really so much a complaint, it's really an observation, especially for black folks who are watching. You got to understand how this game is played, how that Jewish kid who went to Harvard grows up and becomes the investment banker, the attorney, the manager of the athlete, the 22-year-old black athlete who comes out of the hood, who's only trained to think about, you know, the money and the cars and the girls and the jewels and all this other silly stuff. And he's robbing you. He's milking you like a cow. He's got his hands on the udders, just squirt, squirt, squirt until you're done. And then he pushes you to the side, and they bring in another black person. Like E40 said, the rapper. He had a song for rappers. In the chorus was, they'll find a new nigga next year. And that's true. They will find a new nigga next year because they're going to literally cycle through person after person. And so what I think needs to really happen is that black financial advisors, black wealth advisors need to put themselves in that game, number one. But number two, black athletes and relatives of black athletes need to let your kids know this very important fact. that this wealth that you build and you maintain has no value to the black community if you're not doing things to strengthen your community. If all you're doing is you're sending money over to your, to white folks, left and right, then black people are still going to be left dilapidated. Our greatest and most significant resources are being sucked away. The black male athlete is not only one of the wealthiest creatures on the planet, he's also one of the most powerful when it comes to social issues. When those black football players at the University of Missouri spoke up about the racism of the campus president, he was gone. He was gone. When they said we're going to stick together and we're going to remain firm, the guy left instantly the next day. And that shows you the power of the black athlete. The two things that they kind of fear when it comes to black men and black athletes are, number one, intelligence. Number two, solidarity. And then maybe number three, conscientiousness. That means believing in something other than just money and girls and going to the club and throwing up money and just silly stuff that's kind of fed to you. It's fed to you kind of as a distraction. Because if you're distracted, it makes it easy for me to rob you. You're focused on over here and I'm taking your money over there. And that's kind of how this system works. Now, again, Morgan Stanley, I'm not dissing what Morgan Stanley's trying to do. I think it's fine. Morgan Stanley, in fact, is doing exactly what white folks train their kids to do. Wealthy white folks train their kids to go out here and look for the sheep and look for the vulnerable and to get their money. That's what they train them to do. They train them to find the black person who will go buy a pair of Air Jordans with his last $2 and market those Jordans to him so that he gets $12 shoes that you just sold him for $200 and you're getting $200 that you can then put in your portfolio and save that and pass that to your children. The question is, what are we teaching our kids? Are we teaching our children how to grow up and build enterprises where they become producers and investors and they own things? Or are we raising our kids to grow up and become consumers where they're going to just get milked like the cow, right? Milked by the people who are prepared to come out and take that money. So here's the bottom line on this. This whole idea of athletes going broke. I think generally speaking, an athlete can avoid going broke by simply taking a fraction of his money, like 20%. It doesn't have to be extreme, just a fraction of it, and making sure that money's going someplace where it's safe and going to be invested and going to be allowed to grow. A stock portfolio, diversified portfolio of real estate stocks, small businesses, etc. I think a lot of black athletes can make a lot of money by replicating what the rapper Nas has been doing. Nas, I'm actually reaching out to Nas because I want to do something with Nas. Nas has been taking his wealth and investing in small tech startups because that's where a lot of money is being made. White guys are making billions from small tech startups. So if we had black athletes that came to me, and again, I don't really hang out with a lot of celebrity types because I don't get out here. I don't try to have celebrity friends because it's hard work. It's just too much to keep up with. But I would just love it if three athletes came together and each invested $5 million and we controlled something where they had $15 million as a pot of money to invest in small black tech startups where they take a small percentage of ownership and the startups then get access to experts and all kinds of resources that would allow their company to grow in capital and all these other things, because that's where wealth building can occur in the black community. So what I would say is this: if you are a black athlete and you are approached by Morgan Stanley and they want to tell you how to not go broke, make part of your agenda investing in the black community. Investing in the black community by buying black whenever possible, investing in black businesses, doing things in your community. Understand this: a dollar that's not spent in the black community is really a dollar that is lost by the black community. It is a loss. It is a net loss. Understand that. So when you give money to somebody else, your community is losing. It doesn't mean that you have to give everything to black people. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not going to clown you if you do. I mean, sometimes you have to spend money elsewhere. That's fine. But understand, every community is very conscious of how much of our money is given to our people versus how much of our money is given to those people over there. Right? It's no different from having a plate of food. This is the last analogy I'll give you. It's like having a plate of food. And let's say you got your child over here, your children are starving, and then you got other people's kids. So you're feeding everybody. Here, you take a bite, you take a bite, you take a bite, you take a bite. But you don't say, here, you take a bite, you take a bite, you take a bite. You don't give all the food away to somebody else's kids, because your kid's going to be sitting there like what's going on? Like, why don't I have anything? Who's going to feed me? Their parents are already feeding them, so they're getting fed twice, by their own family and by you. Because you dumb enough to let your own kids starve while you're feeding somebody else's children. And that's the problem. Who's going to feed black children? Who's going to feed the black community? If our best and our brightest and our wealthiest and our most powerful black people in this country are feeding other people's kids, they're feeding the white kids and sending the Jewish kids to private school because the black athletes are giving all their wealth away to these big corporations, the Morgan Stanleys and the investment advisors and all that. We're feeding their children and our kids are starving in the hood. What the hell kind of sense does that make? It makes zero sense whatsoever. Black men, grow up. Don't let these people control your mind. Because if they do, you might be financially secure, but you'll be spiritually and morally bankrupt. And most importantly, your community will continue to starve. That's all I got to say. I'm about to get out of here. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. By the way, we're on the Black Economic Empowerment Tour right now. You can learn more at thedrboycewatkinstour.com. That's thedrboycewatkinstour.com. If you want to learn the basics of wealth building, you can sign up for free at theblackbusinessschool.com. That's theblackbusinessschool.com. I'm about to get out of here. You guys have a wonderful day. Peace.